Are we ready, Roland? What do you think? Yeah? Okay. We got the thumbs up from technology. Hello. All right, so we'll get started. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, very good. We are going to start this, come to order on this Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, at this Board of Education regular meeting agenda. Before us, if we could start with a roll call, please.
We begin at 6:01 p.m.
Thank you.
Dr. Michael Thomas.
Present.
Lauren Dowden.
Present.
David Shepherd.
Present.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Present.
Denise Jones, yes. Michael Miller.
Present.
Colleen Clemzak.
Present.
All are present. Ready to
Let's go. All right, if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could please look at the agenda before us, and if there are no additions or deletions, if I could have a first motion to approve
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
and a second.
Second.
Why did I know?
I
It
knew
was
it.
gonna be the Michaels.
I was just-
And a roll call, please.
Michael Miller.
Yay.
Dr. Michael Thomas.
Yay.
Lauren Dowden.
Yay.
David Shepherd.
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
Denise Jones, yes. Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Excellent. Okay. Staff reports, please.
Great. My first report from this evening is by Miss Megan Franco, and she is going to be sharing information about our upcoming cultural night.
Excellent. Welcome.
Welcome,
It's
Miss
good to
Franco.
see you.
So, you can, is there a slide?
Yes, there is a slide for you. Do you know how to click through?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yep, there you go.
Perfect.
Perfect,
Roland.
thank you, Roland.
So I'm here, I'm super excited to announce I think our first annual District 124 Culture Night. It'll take place February 27th from 6 to 8 at Northeast School. It's being put together by our Deltstrand community and family as partners. So we thought a Culture Night would be a really great way to kind of kickstart some of the events that we're planning throughout the district this year and into next year. So thinking about EP as our district EP family, we're very fortunate to have the diversity that we have among all of our buildings. And so I just kind of felt like we all kind of feel like it's so much more meaningful to learn about culture and heritage and, you know, people's stories and their ancestry from one another than it is to learn about it from anywhere else. So we're super excited about this event. Our goal for the event we host is to promote cultural awareness and appreciation of the various cultures of our families, staff, and community members, as well as the cultures from around the world. Something that I've experienced kind of hosting some of these events in the past is that when you host a Black History Night event or month event or a Hispanic Heritage Month event, you typically only get people from those groups to come. So we're really trying to promote the fact that this idea that when we're celebrating a culture, we're all coming together to celebrate the stories and traditions of that culture in the same way that members of a family want to support and learn from one another, because after all, we are the EP family. So on to the evening. The first part of the evening from 6 to 7, we have some families who have volunteered and some staff members who have volunteered to have some cultural display tables. So some of the countries that they're representing are Puerto Rico, Germany, El Salvador, Ireland, and India, just to name a few of them. Some of our newcomer families have offered to do henna art tattoos for students who come. We have a family interview room, so families can come on their phone, they can scan a QR code and it'll take them to a Padlet where there'll be interview questions and we have it all translated for everyone. It'll go into kind of like one uniform platform where you can see all the different stories of people within our EP community. So we're super excited about that. We have a District 124 cookbook. We are still looking for recipes, so feel free to upload a recipe. We would love you to. We'll be giving those away at the event. It's been kind of blasted out through social media, but feel free to contact me for directions. Some of our 5th grade students are doing a unit on different countries around the world, so they're going to come and present, and we're gonna do a scavenger hunt, so families can kind of go around the building, look for different facts on different countries, and then they'll be put into a raffle drawing, and they can get some donations from different businesses that are kind of sponsoring us for the evening. And then, our BPAC, our Parent Bilingual Advisory Council, has offered to purchase some board games from around the world from us. So currently we have, and I hope I don't butcher these names, but Mora Baraba, Mancala, Mahjong, Woot, Ludo, and Carrom. And so some students from throughout the district are gonna learn how to play these games and teach some of the games to the families and be able to play them that evening. And then the second part of our evening from 7 to 8, we really wanted to be mindful in an event like this that we're being very inclusive. So we thought it'd be a great idea that before each of the performances that we have our multilingual students throughout the district. They're going to actually translate a little introduction for each performance. So we're gonna have that in English, Spanish, and Gujarati. And then we have our performances. We have Irish dancers, Native American dancers. One of our newcomer families from Southeast, I believe, is doing the national anthem from India and a little performance. We have steppers from a local high school, and then we also have this woman, her name is Gloria Contreras, and she has these like amazing sculptures of Mexican art. So she'll talk about the history and the symbols and the colors. And then there's these things called mojigangas, where if you go to like Hispanic festivals, they're these big giant like 8 or 9 foot costumes. Kids can get in them, dance around, so the night will kind of end on a dance party. So we're really excited. We hope that we can see everyone there. Please promote. We want a lot of people to come. And I just want to take a second to thank everyone who's been working so hard to make this possible. A special shout out to Dana Leonard, who's been working very closely alongside me, as long as our committee, and all the family, staff, and community members who are contributing to the night. It's gonna be a blast, so we're super excited about it.
So fun.
Thank you.
So much
February
detail.
27th at
February
Northeast
27th.
School, 6 to 8 p.m.
Yes,
Way to recap.
February 27th at Northeast School.
yes.
Okay,
And we should reach out how to register
You
and
don't have to register,
just come.
come.
just come.
But we would love, if you wanna have a cultural display table or participate in the recipe book, we would love that. That'd be awesome for the board to be in there. So
That's been on social media and in the newsletter and
Yep.
things too.
we have been pushing it out as everywhere
Recap.
possible. So.
I think that's good.
I think we did.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
For all
I
of your
appreciate it.
help.
Thank
Of
you.
course,
Yes.
thank you.
This is amazing and I love seeing it all come together. My gosh.
Me too, it's gonna be, I love it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you. February 27th.
February 27th, 6
From
to 8
6
p.m.
to 8 at Northeast.
And it is a district event. Sometimes I get questions, is
Yes.
this only a Northeast event or is this only a Southeast event, depending on where it's located? It is a district event. We encourage K students to come and pre-K 3 K students to come and participate. And I do plan to share this also with our parent advisory committee next Monday, based on Megan's advice to me, and hopefully we can continue to push it out into our community. All right, thank you, Megan.
Thanks.
And thank you for all your work on this. My next topic is regarding our public engagement and public opinion research services. So at last week's special board meeting, we were presented with another exciting opportunity to partner with a consulting firm ran by Mr. Paul Hanley called Beyond Your Base. Beyond Your Base is a public engagement firm that researches public opinion, assisting school districts in facilitating a task force regarding our facilities-based projects. To highlight some of the important work that they will be conducting in support of administration, they will prepare frequently asked question documents and fact sheets, hold informational sessions with our community-based task force, provide informational mailers to all community members based on community input, and provide ongoing media support in an effort to streamline communication. What I personally enjoyed about them most is the voice of our stakeholders being included in this process, as it is essential to our success, as well as the ability for us as a district to alter their future facility needs, plans based on feedback from our community. To me, it is just a win-win situation. So on tonight's agenda, there is an action item to approve this consulting firm as agreed upon at last week's meeting.
Yep.
I'm excited for next steps.
That was a very interesting and meaty meeting.
Yes.
So that was really good to hear from them and I appreciated their time and it's an exciting opportunity and it's nice to know we have support.
Yes.
Right, like making sure that all of those pieces come together, so
Mhm.
that's really great. Great. Thank you.
Right. Next up on our agenda is actually Miss Angela Iverson, and she is going to present out information regarding Evergreen Reads.
in my notes in January, I was like, where's Evergreen Reads? And then it was on my agenda, so I love it.
Books for all of our board members.
Are we allowed to tell anybody? Cause sometimes it's still a secret in January, so I just wanna make sure.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the book that we've chosen for Evergreen Reads this year. For those of you who aren't familiar, Evergreen Reads is our community and district-wide reading event, similar to a One School, One Book. We've been doing it for about 8 years now. I'm hoping that we can kind of, we had kind of a snag during COVID, but I'm hoping we can revitalize it this year and get some more involvement from our school and community. I think The Wild Robot is a good choice because there is a movie that just came out. And this book is really accessible. It's a 5th grade reading level, but it's really accessible to anyone based on the story. With that in mind, we do have other titles that kind of coincide with it for our younger students. There's a lot of books about robots that we can kind of tie in, but this is one of them that all the libraries currently have. So we will have programs, once the books are distributed, we'll have programs in school and then a few evening programs at the elementary schools for the next probably 5 or 6 weeks.
So great.
But, and then we do have the 25 that each school receives 25, and our parents are encouraged to come and pick first come, first serve, one up from there. Otherwise, they're available for sale at Bookies or, online as well.
I can't wait to read it.
I know, it's a good story. It's a story about a robot that gets stranded on an island and he makes friends with some of the animals that
I
are
saw
living
some
on the
otters on a flip through, so.
It's a
okay,
very
I like
cute
otters.
story, and
Is Bookies giving a discount for this book?
I can talk to the owner and see, yeah, I'm sure.
I can talk to someone.
You know
I just feel like,
people?
yeah, I just
You
feel like,
know
I mean, they
people who know
should, it's
people?
like, it's.
Yeah. Well, if he says
Be
no
part
to
of the
me, I'll let you know.
There you go.
Yeah. it's just-
Maybe both of you, right? We both come and ask. That's exciting.
Yes,
Thank
This
you.
will be a fun one,
I
yeah.
took Charlotte's Web on vacation with me in February of 2020. I guarantee you, I was the only person at that retreat center reading Charlotte's Web. But did people stop and talk to me at dinner about, really, that's what you're reading? Yes, it was really good. I remember it a lot more.
It's a classic.
They're always exceptional books.
Yeah, and
so.
we'll do, in the past, we've done movies, so we'll end with the movie as our culminating event, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Right, so next up on our agenda, we have our presentation from our principal team regarding our winter benchmark data. And so first up on our agenda, I believe is Dr. Vanek.
He's ready. Hello and welcome.
Well, thank you. So this is our fall to winter benchmark data, so just to kind of go through a few of the things. So M-CLASS is the new assessment that we have this year for K-1, where it focuses on the early reading skills that students need in order to be successful with reading. Just to remind you a few things, so achievement is how they're doing compared to other peers. And then the growth is how they grew compared to other peers who started M-CLASS is a little bit different, but so the growth for M-CLASS is they have an average growth for M-CLASS of what they should be seeing based on where they're starting. And then that's the percentage of students that made the average growth. So this year for Northwest, since there's a new assessment and there's actually a few new teachers in K-1, it's a little bit on the lower side than what we're used to, but I have some plans we're putting in place in order to kind of address that. The teachers are very focused on the curriculum, and now we have to just get the students exposed to what the assessments look like a little bit more, just so they can do a little bit better on those assessments. So then on the next screen, it's our STAR reading scores. So for STAR growth, then it's comparing students where they started and then students who started in a similar spot and comparing how they grew compared to those students. So the past 2 years at Northwest, we've been really focused on the new curricula that we've been putting in place in terms of CKLA and in terms of Eureka. And so now I think the scores are decent. Our goal for so the achievement is students that perform at the 50th percentile or above. So if you look, there was some growth in the growth. The goal for our median SGP, STAR would say if you have 35% of the students meeting growth, that's good. The district goal is 50%. So it's a little bit lower for like third grade. But once again, I have some plans that we're gonna put in place in order to kind of address those things as well going forward. And so STAR math, our focus has been on math this year on the next screen. So it's better with math. If you look at the achievement, going from like 43 to 56, especially fourth grade going to 42nd to 70th. Once again, kudos to my teachers. They did a lot of hard work, a lot of heavy lifting with the new curriculum, putting things into place. So a lot of good growth that we're seeing with math based on the work that I think that we're doing this year, which is great. So then on the next screen, we have kind of what we're gonna do in terms of for the next half of the year. So this year we've had some students that have presented with some emotional and behavioral needs that we've been strengthening classroom management responses to them to help support them within the classroom so that we can get them where they need to be. In terms of curricula, especially in those lower grades like I talked about for reading, we're putting some intensive skill-based interventions into place so students are used to kind of can practice the skills that they need to learn, but then also practicing the way that they're gonna see them in some of these assessments, which will help them hopefully do better and show the growth from fall to spring. We have our coach, we're happy to have her back after she was helping out with the leave. But she's going to be modeling and co-teaching with classes that didn't show the expected growth and kind of getting in there more to help those teachers and to help plan small group instruction, which is the next part, which we'll be focusing on for our Tier 1 discussions moving forward is, like I said, we've been focusing on the curriculum and IAR, which you saw good growth with that, and now looking at STAR and how we can infuse those skills into our small group instruction that we have for math and reading. And then just some of the things we have been working on is just building resources for fluency and word problems and continuing to our interventions and homework help after school as well too. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Bannock always seems to lead off.
He does.
So everyone else gets to say, well, as Dr. Bannock explained, what SGP is, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you for always leading off.
Very much so, I was gonna definitely say
Hello
that.
there.
Hello. So we're excited about the new M-Class, probes that we're being able to implement with students. They get especially at the primary level, they're very granular and allow teachers to focus on things that are very concrete, whether it's letter recognition or initial letter sounds. So I think that's been helpful. Sometimes the STAR assessments, which are adaptive, it makes it a little bit harder to dial down on, you get a summative scale score for a student, but you might not say like, hey, we're just missing these 4 or 5 letters, and we can be a lot more targeted. So the M-Class has been successful. I think the teachers actually like it a lot more as well. So seeing teachers have the ability to respond to student need has been successful for our primary students. As things, as you go through the grade levels, it becomes less concrete and you're doing some more of those higher order thinking skills. And so our teachers are really good at starting to facilitate those discussions around, characterization or morals or whatever thing they're focusing on in CKLA. And so they've done a nice job. That's been an emphasis for us the past couple of years. So we've seen some good growth as a result of that. So really happy with the work that teachers are putting in and their commitment to being reflective on where students are at and how they can continue to push them and help them grow. Oh, can you go back to math? Similar with math, we spent a lot of time looking at not only STAR results, but IAR results as well. We spent some of our time on the Institute Day, and teachers have been able to kind of look at the evidence statements from last year's state testing and pull some examples of released items to just give kids more exposure to some of those challenging topics. And so again, staff has just done a great job being reflective and really meeting kids across the spectrum, whether they're performing at the 25th percentile or the 95th percentile, to try to meet their needs. And so you see that reflected in the SGP growth, because we're really comparing apples to apples there. So it's important for those numbers to look the way they do, that we're meeting our students who might be under the 50th percentile in terms of achievement, and then our higher performing students as well. They all need to grow. So in terms of our action plan, a lot of continuing some of the things that we've been working on. Really, as far as culture goes, those enhanced extracurricular activity options. We're partnering with outside vendors, and then also our staff continues to come up with new and exciting opportunities to just expand that school day after school for our kids. We just sent out our packet. Kudos to Ms. Franco and Mrs. Kasprowitz on taking the lead on those. It provides parents a clear outline of what the options are, rather than releasing them one at a time, and then, having some regret. I'm like, ooh, I wish I would have signed up for that.
Seeing the schedule all together.
And so they've done a
yeah.
really nice job, and those forms are rolling in. I think one of the clubs has 70 applicants.
Oh my gosh.
And so we're always trying to figure out, what kids are interested in, and then changing our offerings. The other thing that we've been able to do is to designate days of the week as academic support days and then as club days, so that we're never forcing a kid to choose between Taylor Swift Club and
Who knew?
academic skills groups. So that's been, I think that's been helpful too. We've seen the membership in those be really high because we give that choice. The expectations around behavior and things like that, trying to be really consistent. We had our Bulldog Bonus Bonanza Assembly today, where we just really shouted out kids for doing the right thing. And then also coming together we hit our collective goal. So we'll be having an indoor snowball fight coming up here in the next couple of days, which the kids we're really, really excited about. So continuing to catch kids doing good and holding them to high expectations as well adds on to that learning piece. Our after-school skills groups on those Tuesdays and Thursdays, we really tried to focus on students who might not be receiving intervention during the school day, so that we can provide that extra support to everybody, including I'm trying to remember, including some enrichment opportunities if we have the staff to support it. And then really harnessing the power of the new curricular programs that we have. They've been really good and really high quality, and really ask our kids to do a lot, and just trying to be as true to those as possible, and then working through after the fact has been really beneficial for our kids. So continuing our current work, we have our coach back as well from a leave, and she jumped right in today, checking in with teachers and making sure that we are prepped for our upcoming academic tier meetings. And then we met with the MTSS team, that's a district team, just looking at the interventions that we're providing to kids and making sure that they're matched to student need. And so we want to continue to do that as part of our regular tier meeting process. Thank you.
Thank you very
Scott?
much. Diving into January. I mean, diving in. Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Okay, well, Nat and Scott got the ball rolling, so I'm not going to repeat about what the test measure. We like to think of it as like measure, monitor, make an M class, lots of M's, and make progress happen. So kind of obviously the forefront of all of our conversations, and this data just gives our staff the opportunity to create targeted plans, and I feel like we are starting to see and reap the benefits. We're very happy. This is all the hard work of our interventionists, our coaches, obviously the grade level teachers, our EL teacher, I can go on and on. I mean, even the librarian at sometimes, we have all hands on deck. So we're excited for the growth, for the achievement. We're definitely trending in the right direction. And both kindergarten and first grade, we had 56% in kindergarten meeting their average growth and 62 in first grade. One thing I do want to comment on is in CKLA, right now, the scope and sequence, they haven't even been exposed to all the letters and the sounds yet. So that's something else that we're taking into consideration. Many times, just when I was teaching kindergarten, we saw big, huge jumps in the winter. We were using a different program, so they were exposed. So now we do have to have a little bit of patience. We have to wait a little bit longer because scientifically, their research says they have a different scope and sequence to the introduction of their letters. So we're excited to see even our scores then in spring, where I think in the past, historically, we saw bigger jumps at this point. So just wanted to point that out. And then for 2nd through 5th grade, I'm especially proud of 5th grade. I will tell you, sometimes they get 5th grade-itis, sometimes, you know,
That happens, what?
you know, they sometimes challenge, you know, they're trying to find themselves, there's a lot of peer pressure going on, social media, all the things, and I feel like, this 5th grade class, has really done a great job of staying focused. So we're starting, and you'll see when I talk about like kind of what we're doing, like student voice, putting more responsibility on them, having them more opportunity to be leaders in the school, and they're really grasping onto that. So we're excited for our star reading scores. Of course, we have work to do, but so far, this is a good starting point. And then in math, next slide. Oh, thanks. It's like I am. So again, I think, you know, we're really gonna hone in on, we did do a lot of talk around CKLA and around literacy. So I think the focus of the second half of the year, we're really going to look at our math interventions and some things that we're doing, you know, to reach our students that are struggling in math. But again, you know, we're jumping from 37% to 56% in 4th grade, so definitely trending in the growth area. So some things that we're doing in terms of culture, we continue to celebrate diversity and inclusion, making everyone feel, you know, important in our school. We're using the slides Amanda Hattar sends out. We use them, they're the center and the focus of all of our morning announcements and then morning meetings within our building. So we're talking about the same word, the same theme. This month, we're really living like the king is what we're saying, and we're quoting Dr. Martin Luther King, and then giving them time during their morning meeting to reflect on that and what that means to them as a student. As Ms. Franco said, we're hosting our very first multicultural event to celebrate the community's diverse backgrounds. I talked about and spoke to the implementing leadership opportunities to increase student voice, especially in that 5th grade, through student council clubs, some peer mentorship. So we use check in, check out. So we've kind of paired up some of the 5th graders to kind of help check in and check out the younger kids, and they absolutely love it. You know, they have to go through a little training, but most of them are former check-in, check-outers, so they know what it's all about. So it's really, we have 2, but we've seen great success. In terms of curriculum and instruction, we're celebrating, you know, effort and progress, not just the outcomes, making sure, once again, along with high-quality Tier 1 materials and tools that, you know, I always ask teachers, do you have what you need? You know, do our students have what they need to succeed? And then really identifying those struggling students and providing them with every intervention that we can right away. PBIS is huge in our school. We're continuing to implement with integrity and consistency. One note, I looked at our behavior trend, and we have seen a decrease in referrals every month since October. So that's huge, celebration for Northeast, yes. Yes. We are also piloting Capturing Kids' Hearts, the SEL program, and then always using restorative justice practices, peer mediation to follow up with any behaviors. So, we're happy, and again, I can't, my staff works so hard, and we're all in this to do what's best for kids and continue to look at our data, set goals, and sometimes we have a little setback and we just get back on the horse, so. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie?
Thank you. Hello.
Hi. Really proud of the work we're doing at Southeast. So like Carrie said, with the M-Class new assessment, we're still trying to figure out all that is capturing. I don't think it's fully capturing the growth that we're seeing in kindergarten and first grade, but we're excited. When I look at this with staff, I'm really looking at that growth. And we're excited that that is the percentage of students meeting average growth is above 50 at 62 and 60 in K and first. And then in reading, again, huge celebrations when we look at second, third, and fourth grade to have median SGPs at 65 or higher. This is some of the best median SGPs that we've had at Southeast. And also, again, with achievement, we see those increases in the second, third, and fourth. Fifth grade is a younger team, second through third year teachers, and it's a team that we're investing a lot of time in supporting. Math, again, those SGP numbers above 57 across the board. And then when we look at achievement, like second grade to jump from 35% to 56, over 20 percentage points in both second and third grade. Again, just huge celebrations. This is exactly what I shared at the beginning of the year in terms of our focus areas. So this is, again, to me, when we look at those growth numbers, the median SGPs is really my focus with staff, and we're really, like I said, this is the best that we've been at in the middle of the year, so just kind of continuing with that momentum. These are the focus areas that we went over at the beginning of the year that I would say are still our focus areas. So just overall culture, celebrating positives with students and staff, high expectations, open and honest communications, relationships, and then we're trying to honor more student voice in decision-making at the school with our student advisory group. Attendance has been a focus across the district, continues to be at Southeast. Kathleen does a great job with this. We've added a traveling trophy. We give monthly or every 6 weeks when we have our assemblies, we give incentive for attendance, and then just trying to increase that communication around attendance. Family and community partnerships, again, we try to have monthly events. We have a bingo night next Thursday. David, are you, joins us?
Such a fun night.
Yeah, and got a lot of good prizes, so all are welcome. But we're trying to just continue to have opportunities for parents to come into the building and have, fun nights with them and with students. So around curriculum, again, our focus at Northwest and Southeast this year with the building professional learning is this Math for All, which has allowed us really to dive deep into our math instruction, so that continues to be a focus area. We're looking at those common assessments, having those data meetings around the common assessments to see how that impacts our instruction. Frequent feedback we're able to get in, Kathleen and I are able to get in classrooms a little more this year than we have been in the past, and then we're really looking through our walkthroughs at that high quality tier 1 instruction. And so within that, these are the focus areas that we've been kind of focused on, is that student discourse, learning targets. Those have kind of carried over from previous years. And then the ones that we're kind of talking about more this year is like maximizing that instructional time within the day, and then within a class period, and then also that student engagement piece. Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Thanks. So like everyone who spoke before me, we also have a lot to celebrate from our most recent winter reading and math STAR data. I'll share some highlights for reading and then math, and then I'll shift into the action plan. So for reading, you can see our fall to winter benchmark achievement data with the median SGP. 8th grade ELA is really a highlight here with a 3% increase and a median SGP above the 50 target. Also, it's not here, but I did want to share, so when looking at analyzing subgroup data, because we do meet at the team level to look at trends, I did want to share some of our subgroup data, just because we do look at our subgroup SGP just to make sure we don't have any subgroups that are performing disproportionately lower than our trend. And so 53% of our 8th graders scored at or above that 50 SGP, and 58% of our special education students for 8th grade reading had an SGP above 50. So I was really, I mean, that's for sure something to celebrate. And then the other one I wanted to share was, so 47% of our sixth graders scored at or above a 50 SGP for reading, and 54% of our multilingual students for sixth grade reading had an SGP of 50 or higher.
Excellent.
I know. So those were two celebrations I wanted to share for
You
reading.
need a much more
Really
complex
proud.
graph, like you need, more layers or something, so we can see all of that too, so.
I know, you should see,
I'm
you
not
should see all the
actually-
data we look at. No, I have it all.
I
You wanna
know,
look at it.
you're doing
She
great.
has it
lot.
all, if you
Of
wanna
course
see
you
it
do,
too.
so no.
But it's important for us to look at that, just so we know, like, if we do have a group that's performing disproportionately lower than our trend, like, we need to address that, so it is important for us. So for math, you can see, our fall to winter benchmark data with the median SGP. Really a huge celebration for both sixth and seventh grade math. For sixth grade math, we saw a 3% increase, and with seventh grade math, we saw a 6% increase with a median SGP of 55. I mean, just really, really great work, and I'm really proud of the work of the seventh grade team. And then again, when we drilled down and looked at subgroup data, so for seventh grade, 55% of our seventh graders scored at or above that 50 SGP, and 63% of our special education students for seventh grade math had a SGP of 50 or higher. And then 47% of our seventh graders scored at or above 50 SGP for reading, and 52% of our Black students for seventh grade reading had an SGP of 50 or higher. So those are just a few celebrations that I really wanted you guys to know. So we do have lots to be proud of. And as a reminder, our school goals are related to seeing at least a 5% increase in both reading and math achievement, along with ensuring an average SGP of 50 or higher in both reading and math. And we are absolutely on track to reach our goals, as you saw on the previous slide. So in order to reach our goals, essentially we're gonna continue to do the following items that were outlined in our school improvement plan that was co-created with staff as well. So we're gonna continue to build student ownership and buy-in with the STAR assessment through goal setting and incentives. So students did create personalized goals based on their STAR report in August. Before the December STAR, they reviewed their goals and then reflected on their winter growth to make updated goals for May. We're gonna have a continued focus on high quality tier 1 instruction, specifically with 1.5 intentional planning, 3.2 strategic questioning, 3.3 student discourse, and within 1.5, just this differentiation in small group, which as Haley talked about, we're doing with Math for All, which has been really beneficial. We're gonna continue to analyze after each STAR assessment as a team. So I've done most of those meetings, but I still have one to do next week. And then the instructional coaches also meet with the ELA and math departments, so like the sixth grade math team, seventh grade ELA team, to look at their class data and really dig deeper into like what are our students really missing and what do we need to make a priority for next unit. We're gonna continue to analyze common assessments as a department to reflect on what students do and do not know. Currently, this is just happening in math, but obviously next year we're gonna look to do more of that work. And then through the grading committee that actually Dr. Carlson is hosting, some of the teachers at CMS hit the ground running with that, and Elena Liskey, which I know you guys are not surprised to hear that. Her and Julie Kelly already created a common rubric to use in ELA for everyone to use for quick writes, so we can even have common language and be consistent with that. And then a continued emphasis on just job embedded professional learning through team and department time, so the coach is pushing into those times to provide instructional or to provide learning on like high quality tier 1 instruction, particularly with questioning and discourse. And then obviously that is based on observations when we're going into the classrooms, the learning walk data, but also just staff feedback. So when we had our data, when we looked at data most recently, we just asked staff like, what PD do you want the staff to do based on what you identified? Continue to support new teachers through professional learning, mentoring, and intentional planning. And then continue to support science and social studies since they're going through their curriculum adoption and implementation, so just continue to support them. And then also to just continue to see school improvement and performance in general, we are gonna continue to do the following action items related to behavior, SEL, and culture and climate. So continued consistency with discipline and communication, intentional and explicit social and emotional learning and advisory. And we still have, which is going well, a 6th grade lead-worthy class. So 6th graders, they get an intentional quarterly course that is more in-depth in addition to the learning they're getting in advisory. So it's not instead of, it's an addition to. And we actually added in for this semester, we added in an 8th grade lead-worthy class to help balance out some of our specials that were a little big in size. And so we did add that at the 8th grade level as well, which started yesterday. So we'll see how that goes. School-wide expectations and out of the blue days and incentive assemblies. So we've been doing an out of the blue day probably every month. And how the PBIS team picks that is behaviors that we're most consistently seeing. So like, for instance, the most recent one is gonna be wearing your ID. So essentially the students will come to school, if they have their ID on, then they get a ticket and they can cash it in for candy. One time we did if their Chromebook was charged in the beginning of the day, so the out of the blue day is aligned with like the behavior that we're seeing. And then it's just essentially reinforcing the students who are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then we do have our quarterly incentive assemblies. Our next one for Q2 is gonna be next Friday. And that's if the students qualify, then they go to this really fun event and engage in a lot of different fun activities. And then we also have, clear expectations that teachers share in class, but we've also been sharing them on the daily announcements, just so they have that reminder every day as well, so they know what's expected of them. And then for tiered interventions, we've been working hard, and really Miss Lavin and the social workers and the school psych have been spearheading this work to modify criteria for students who need an intervention, but also like progress monitoring. If a student is on an intervention, is it working, and is it leading essentially to changes in their behavior and a decrease in referrals? And if not, what are we doing? Are we giving them a different intervention? Are we giving them a different trusted adult, or whatever it is? So she's really spearheading that work. And then also revamping ISS. So we want to make sure that ISS is actually restorative and that the students are sitting in this room engaging in reflection, and then it's leading to then hopefully preventing them from going in there again.
I'm sorry, what is ISS?
In school, essentially if they get an in-school
in-school
suspension, yes.
Okay.
They go to an ISS room. We did add a clear structure, but what we're noticing, if the teachers, since we don't have a dedicated person in there yet, if it doesn't get filled, let's say by Eli, then we just have subs, like internal subs for each period. And we did notice then that, like for instance, if you sub in there once every other week, you might not remember, like as a teacher, what the expectations are for ISS.
Sure.
So the deans and Lavin are working on like a more clear training. So like even if you don't sub in there, if you are in there, you can click on it and like read it and refresh on what you're actually supposed to do in there. But that's still a work in progress. And then continue to provide parent education on the importance of student attendance, design monthly Tier 1 attendance incentives, and then most recently, actually inspired from Meg Franco's work, Lavin and the deans in conjunction with Dr. Dale did create modified what she already did for attendance procedures to be really clear with that and ensure that students are being put into interventions if they are not attending school. So we created thresholds for that, and that has been rolled out, which I'm really proud of. We also added in more supervision to like hotspots in the hallways, so areas in the hallways that, some students going this way and that way created like kind of a hotspot. We were really intentional with the supervision schedule just to make the hallways feel safer as reported by the students. And then I do have a principal student impact group that we meet ideally monthly, but we haven't met since November, so I am meeting with them next week. But monthly to quarterly, and we discuss topics, for instance, like student safety in the hallways, instruction, and things like that. And then in terms of just stakeholder feedback, continuing to conduct staff listening and learning tours, just to figure out how it's feeling for them and what more we need to adjust. And then sending out a survey to them as well, just to monitor like administrative progress and anything that we need to do to adjust. So I really am just really proud of our teachers and our staff for intentionally planning, using data to inform their instruction, working with the instructional coaches, and just their constant reflection and drive to do what's best for kids. And I really just want to stress just the importance of teamwork and really thank the administrative team, social workers, school psych, support staff, coaches, teachers, because our growth really, kind of like what Carrie Berry said, is really not possible if we're not all working together. So, any questions? Sorry.
That's a lot. It's great. It's great. Thank you so much.
The positive things going on at Central are very visible to us, by the way. So I
Yes.
just wanted to let you
Oh,
know that
it's
we
all
are
good.
seeing it and it is very impressive.
I was just reading from the August projections, and you've met every projection that you said you wanted to achieve this time this year. So, good job.
Thank you. I know, right? Everybody. Amazing. Okay.
Alright, next we have Miss Rebecca Terrell to talk about our district
Hello.
community leadership team.
Good, how are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Oh, that's the wrong slide, but that's okay. Change it, but we met in January for our quarterly DCLT meeting, so we just, initially we start with some updates, some community updates for all of our partners. So I put some up there, so shout out to Frank Murray. I didn't know this, but Tammy was, Frank didn't tell us, but Tammy Bobel did, that Frank was Citizen of the Year.
The chamber, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that was pretty
great.
awesome.
Yeah, great job.
Good for him. I mean, obviously, he presented, I think, last month, December. Library's doing some great things. All the library cards have been processed, and I know when we met last week, they were out at Southeast, maybe out at Northwest. And I know that Central was gonna be a little bit more difficult, obviously, to get all the cards in the hands of the students, but they were working on that. He also did mention that they have reading buddies there, which any adult can, or high school student can apply to be a reading buddy, but he had mentioned that that program is really kicked off and done really well. Center for Self-Actualization highlight, just therapists are really busy in all the schools. Tammy is busy in one of our student support services rotation, doing trauma-informed practices to our staff members. Village Pantry Coalition, which is one of our newer members to our DCLT team this year, just kind of thanked, obviously, D124. All the schools do a lot of food drives and definitely stock their shelves. She mentioned that there's about 65 to 85 families per week that utilize the pantry. Their hours are typically on Friday, but they do want to make sure that we know that if there is a family that is experiencing an emergency, they'll obviously open up the pantry for them.
Is that Beth Novotny? I met her at the farmer's market like in the fall. She's like, I can't keep up on the thank you notes to our students and our buildings.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I can't even keep up with saying thank you to how much like D124 also does for the Food Coalition, and it sounds like what the Food Coalition does for D124. So yeah, she's like, oh my gosh, it's so generous, and I love that it comes back and it serves the families in our community, right? So that's awesome.
Just some D124 highlights, just some of the things, and we talked a little bit about this. Tammy completing the trauma-informed training. Staff mentors are in effect at Northeast. Amanda Hattar is working on CMS mentors. Second year of the SEL curriculum at CMS, and they're obviously analyzing their SSIS data, which was looking promising. They're having more individualized meetings about students at Northwest, just for various reasons to kind of help those families and students with specific supports. Carrie talked a little bit about the SEL curriculum at Northeast, which is also at Southwest, the Capturing Kids Arts, full swing. There's been opportunities for teachers to like collaborate and reflect on the implementation. You can roll the slide. Thanks. And then there was, some of the discussions were, we were discussing what we've seen throughout the district is, more of our students being hospitalized, for mental health issues. Some of the students identified, some of them not. But what we've talked about is, you know, what supports and the difficulties that the families have, after that happened. So for instance, you know, we'll have a student that maybe was not on anyone's radar that was hospitalized for a week and then they kind of get dropped back. We do have re-entry meetings and parents obviously share that information. And sometimes these students don't necessarily have all these externalizing behaviors at school, but still kind of supporting those families with what next. Because unfortunately, a lot of the, you know, hospitals are, you know, downtown and whatnot, a lot of these programs, and then they're dropped back here on the south side where just kind of accessing the after. So Tammy had mentioned that one of her, she has an intern who has to do so many hours, so even looking into parents receiving some of those supports through the intern for the after effects and whatnot. Is there another slide? No. Okay, I think that's the old presentation, but I'm just gonna talk a little bit about one of the goals this year for our DCLT team is to update like our resource manual. If you go online, if you talk to any of the social workers, or if you talk to some of the principals, we all kind of have these separate collections of resources for families. So one of the things that we've been working on as a collective DCLT group is updating, doing like a resource mapping, kind of looking at academic, before and after school, recreational, and then some like mental health, substance abuse, domestic violence has been some like resources that we've really had to like access food banks, kind of mapping out everything that we know, seeing where our missing pockets are, and then the real work is making sure those still exist. Because a lot of these things were pre-COVID too. So that's kind of what we've been working on as a team to do next. So that's where we are right now. Our next meeting's in April. Between this time and then I know Tammy's and Frank are gonna use some of their staff to kind of go through some of those resources. We're gonna use our staff as well. We're also gonna send out a needs survey. So obviously, we're looking at this resource map, what we know and what we've seen and the trends that we've seen, but we wanna hear from our families as well and what they need. So Evelyn Lara just translated that for us, so that should be coming through social media. And then we'll shoot that out to our district partnerships so they can kind of post those surveys as well. Scan the QR code, complete that, so we have a better idea of what our families need. That's it.
That's great.
Thank you.
I have
Any
a question.
questions?
Yes. You mentioned the resource mapping, and I was just curious if that's something that like lives within your team, or if that's something that like once you guys have it like fleshed out and you know like what's offered and where and to what extent, does that get shared with like teachers or with the community?
Yeah, we're gonna share that. We talked about, and I know last board meeting or the board meeting before, we have done some updates to our website and like the student support services part, like updating like health services and like mental health services, but that's definitely something like we wanna have on the website, have in all our buildings. You know, sometimes, you know, for example, one of the principals talked about like, you know, we've really seen like an uptick in domestic violence and families looking for those resources as we were on this DCLT meeting. So people were throwing out like things that they know in the community and the neighborhood, which adding the Village Pantry Coalition and Carol Kyle has been awesome too, because there really are so many other resources for our families. And then even talking to Amanda Hattar and Evelyn about some of the resources they found for our newcomers. So yeah, this is definitely something we want out everywhere. Because what happens is, you know, a social worker in a building, you know, might have a family in crisis. It might reach out to the other social workers, and then it gets, you know, put on some other sheet, but like we need to put all these things together. So at least we have one place where we know we can access for the majority of the resources, so. But it's a lot of work to make sure these places still exist and to
You
find
gotta
them sometimes.
call the phone numbers and see if
Yeah.
they're still, right? Like, oh my
And, you know,
gosh.
we wanna kind
Check
of
the
divide it up like
websites, yeah.
for what,
Yes.
costs, some things, you know, people wanna know, scan the list and see if there's cost involved and things like that. So we wanna make, we're still talking about how to make that look as user friendly as possible. Cause sometimes it can, you know, ages that it services, so
True.
things like that, so. Sometimes visually, Jenna would say this, visual is important, you know, it needs, if it doesn't look good sometimes, or it's not easy to read, people aren't gonna use it, so,
True.
yeah. So,
And sometimes we don't, there might be a family member who is a little hesitant to contact a social worker in the building, or they might not know who, or it might be a weekend.
right,
So having that out there all the time for everyone to consume, it just makes the most
Yes.
sense. That's really, really great.
I'm picturing a
exciting.
magnet with a QR code.
I'm hearing a lot of QR codes tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I just learned how to add one to a flyer, not sure if I'll remember, but we'll see, so, yeah,
Awesome.
good work.
Thank you.
Good work. Yeah,
Look
really
at
good
sweater.
work. Amazing.
So sweaters are shit.
Mr.
Mr.
Rossi.
Grossi. He
Hello.
has the full show tonight.
Well, I mean, that was a whole lot in
Yeah,
the,
right.
okay, so.
Statement of expenditures, nothing really unique this past month in expenditures, salaries and benefits, for the most part. Revenues is a different story. Revenues, we did receive our bond revenue, from the December 20th sale. You'll see that is highlighted in the yellow. So as a result of that, our fund balance has gone up, as you can see in the working cash, fund. And I expect that to slowly go down because obviously we borrowed the money, now we have to spend the money.
Now we have to spend the money, yes, that's how that works.
Does anyone have any questions on the monthly finances? Okay. So next we have Don Shaw from Lauterbach and Amen here to talk about our 2024 audit.
Welcome.
Alright, well, thank you for having me. I first wanna thank Eric and the entire team for all their help in making this another successful audit year. Without their help, this is not possible, so thank you. I know this is gonna be number 2 on your read list behind.
I'm gonna
But
sleep with it under my
yes,
pillow tonight, I
yes.
promise,
So
yes, I will.
I'll cover the high level for
Yes,
you
please,
tonight.
thank you.
So if you go to page 1, you'll find our Lauterbach and name and letterhead. This is our independent audit report in which we provide a clean, unmodified opinion. That's the highest opinion you can receive. Basically states that we found no issues with internal controls or the numbers as they're presented.
Excellent.
You skip about 4 or 5 more pages, you'll run into the management discussion and analysis. And this section really provides a summary of how the year performed in narrative form. So if you have questions on fluctuations from year to year, or what the numbers truly mean, this is where you'd wanna go to find those answers. To see how the district performed in the current year, you can skip ahead to what would be your income statement, which is on page 22. Towards the bottom of page 22, you'll notice that the general fund, which is your main operating fund, is made up of your education, operations and maintenance, tort and working cash funds, had a net increase of $549,000. This is primarily due to your revenues coming in slightly higher than anticipated, while your expenditures were below budget in the current year. So your general fund was left with an ending fund balance of $9.9 million, which is about 55% of your total ending fund balance district-wide of $18.2 million. The next section is the notes to the financial statement, which begin on page 24. And this section really provides further detail into how we came up with the figures that we did, the supporting schedules. Then there, you're gonna find your long-term debt and your capital asset schedules. not gonna go through the notes with you tonight, so I'll have you skip ahead all the way to page 83. Page 83 is the start of your budgetary information. So if you wanna see how a specific fund performed based on what was budgeted, this is where you'd wanna find those comparisons. Does anyone have any questions? Guys.
Can you share with the board your overall audit score?
I don't have that off the top of my head right now. I can definitely share that with
It was 3
3.9, so that's out of 4, so amazing.
Eric did that one.
Off the top of his head, of course he did.
Yeah. So it was definitely an excellent year for the
Yeah,
district.
that's a great number.
Thank you so much.
Alright, if no other questions, thank you for the time and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks for being here, I appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
Take care.
That's a good reading, Colleen.
Pardon me?
That's a good reading.
I know, right?
I might have to read that before the Wild Robot.
Well, 30 minutes, right? We'll take turns, I like it.
So next on the agenda is, if you go one slide up, the other way, please. Property tax grant update. District 124 has officially applied for the 24-25 property tax relief grant. This will generate $1,843,000 in tax abatements for each of the 2024 and 2025 levy years. And in return, the district will start to receive $1,567,479 annually added to its evidence-based funding base, which is a state revenue rather than a local revenue. We have a P-tab that is in the agenda to be approved later. And it is from First Midwest Bank / Old National Bank. They appealed their 2020 to 2022 taxes. They're seeking $22,375 in total refunds from District 124 and $17,117 in total refunds from District 231. If I remember correctly, it was roughly 30% of the original ask. I believe this is a good deal, so.
We don't have to like it, but we can approve it.
Yeah.
Giving money back, but I know it's in the budget, so.
So update for the 2025-2026 school year. Some exciting news, and we could have an updated slideshow on this later. The 2025-2026 registration fees will remain the same as prior year's fees. Early childhood is $20, kindergarten is $50. Grades 1 through 5 is $130, and grades 6 through 8 is $140. We will be having our registration from March 3rd to March 30th. And we will be offering 50% off of registration fees to all families that are registered by the end of the day on that March 30th, 2025 registration date. So what that means is if you have a child in early childhood and you are registered by March 30th, it's $10 instead of $20. Kindergarten, $25 instead of $50. Grades 1 through 5, $65 to $100 instead of $130. And then grades 6 through 8 is $70 instead of $140. And then there will be more communications coming from Dr. Woodland in early February for that, which is very exciting.
It is very exciting.
We're very
When
excited.
did I sign up?
The third, March 3rd to the 30th, right? We'll
Yes.
recap just like we did. March 3rd to the 30th. It just helps, it helps our families and it helps our principals and our staff and our admin to prepare for next year.
Yeah.
So the more that we can get that figured out for next year at the end of March, imagine, that would be amazing. And it's a way to give back to our families, which is great, so. Yay,
Very excited about it.
definitely. So more QR codes.
Maybe.
I think I see them coming, but you said more communications out to our families for
Yes.
certain.
And then later in the agenda, there are two quotes for approval. Both are HVAC related, one at Southeast and one at Southwest. And today we have Matt Ernst from Precision to talk a little bit about these two projects.
Great. Thanks, Eric.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Matt Ernst. I'm with Precision Control Systems. I was the lead engineer and project manager for the Northeast project. So I was here about a year and a half ago originally to talk in front of you guys to talk to that project. So just wanted to start out by saying thank you for the opportunity to work on that project. I thought it was really successful. The system's been great and fully operational now since the turnover at the start of the school year. So I briefly wanted to touch on these two proposals for Southeast and Southwest. Southeast is very similar to the Northeast project. There's aging unit ventilators, there's an old control system in place, and majority of the classrooms have the window AC units that are, aging, inefficient, also noisy.
All those things.
So this proposal replaces the existing classroom unit ventilators and moves to a central cooling system similar to Northeast, with one central chilled water plant providing cooling to the whole building. So more consistent ventilation and air conditioning can be provided throughout the entire building. It also gets rid of all the existing pneumatic control systems and goes to a fully modern digital control system. So it's all visible on the computer for Jim and his staff to troubleshoot and maintain. So that one's pretty straightforward, kind of a full service project. Southwest, we were called out towards the tail end of the summer to further dive into some of the HVAC issues that Southwest has been experiencing. Spent a couple weeks monitoring temperatures and humidities throughout the building and the classrooms, and then came up with a series of projects and options along with DLA architects. We kind of worked together with staff, interviewed some of the teachers and staff on site at Southwest with Scott, and came up with a variety of projects. This first proposal is kind of what would be a phase one approach. It's a controls project for a section of the building that kind of experiences some of the more obvious and more egregious humidity problems in that area. And this is all work that we plan to do on a second shift and over spring break prior to the cooling season.
That's soon. That's brilliant.
So
It's why it's on the agenda tonight.
Yeah, no, that's
scrambled to
brilliant.
put that together. I think it's a really good first step and it'll make a significant difference in that area to provide better cooling and ventilation and humidity control.
We can't imagine a cooling season at this moment,
No.
but it will be coming.
It can come quick.
That is,
It'll come
that's-
quickly, yes.
And so second shift and even into spring break, which is in April this year. That's really, okay, that's great.
And then
Sorry.
there would be a series of other options that the administration will be able to weigh in terms of like the long-term approach to the rest of Southwest. So we're gonna provide a variety of options that will be addressed at a later date, hopefully this upcoming summer, but we'll further discussion on that.
Awesome. But we'll be able to address the really rough parts.
The crucial need right
Yeah,
now.
absolutely, and
Before
soon.
we reach 90-degree weather.
Oh my gosh, that's really good news, so.
And this is to address the humidity issues and the negative pressure.
Yes, yes. So it's replacing the existing controls in the 10 classrooms in the 100 wing section, and then adding some pressure-related controls to control the relief fans in that area, so that area isn't bringing in as much humid air when it's hot out, to maintain the humidity in those classrooms better.
Smart.
Right now, it doesn't really work.
Yeah, let's work on that, yes, absolutely. Oh, that's great news.
And this is all work that like builds on potential next work. None of it's anything that needs to be undone if something needs to be done further.
Correct, yes. If there was a further substantial projects in the future, all of this existing work wouldn't have to be touched. It would just be added on to in different areas.
Yeah, we don't wanna waste money.
Great question.
That is a good question. Awesome.
Thank you, Matt, and to your team. You guys have been
Yes,
super responsive.
that's great news.
So we
Thank you so
appreciate it
much.
I
greatly.
appreciate it. Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to work for the district.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Does anyone have any questions on any of that?
A lot of stuff. No wonder it was the Eric show.
And we're starting the Southeast project this summer, right?
Yes, that's the intent.
That's awesome. When we did Northeast, we had that huge delay that we had to, because of parts and whatnot, so this is really great that we get to, never wanna sell a bond, but when you do, you like to jump right into the work, right? So like
Exactly.
this is
It's exciting.
Yeah.
The 54-week delay
Yeah.
on the one part that
54-week,
we
right?
need, right? That was the, oh, this realistic viewpoint, so. Will that, maybe it was discussed, will it be done this summer at Southeast as well? Will it be
Yeah.
started and finished,
Yeah, started
or,
and finished.
I mean,
yes.
no pressure, I'm just,
Yeah.
it's a curiosity, not a demand, so that's great, okay, great news. Awesome,
Thank you.
thank
All
you,
right.
pardon me. Oh, here we are, right, I know. We still have a page, Rachel, we still got a little more, so, okay. So we are on to our public comments portion, yes, there you go. Do we have any green cards this evening? Okay, thank you. I will still read my words, because that's what we do, right? So per Board of Education Policy 2230, a few reminders specifically about logistics for the public comment portion of every meeting, including this evening. As is posted on our agenda publicly for every meeting, to respect all of our stakeholders, our commenters, our board, our public, we adhere very closely to the 3-minute limit for comments for everyone. We will set a timer, and we expect everyone to respect their 3 minutes. In addition, we do not respond to public comments at board meetings, but we do hear them. We respect, we listen to, and we take into account all community member concerns. And if there's a specific question that comes up, we are happy to respond to that as quickly as we can. So, thank you. So, on to board reports. So more from me, sorry about that. So first of all, on the agenda is board member elections. So we do have 3 candidates running for 4 open seats in the April 1st consolidated general election. A shout out to Mr. Michael Amiller, Ms. Rachel Mariquin, and Dr. Michael Thomas for their continued dedication to our school district. There can still be write-in candidates on the ballot. Thursday, January 30th, 2025 is the last day to file a declaration of intent to be a write-in candidate with the appropriate election authority or authorities. Thank you, Sonia, for those details. I appreciate that. So I mentioned that the election is on Tuesday, April 1st. The election authority will report results to the district, to all districts, not just us, on Tuesday, April 22nd, and that is 21 days after the election. That's what happens every year, or every election year. And then per the IASB calendar and a lot of legal things, we have then until May 12th, 2025 to seat the new board and elect officers. So all of that is pretty standard. But we do it every other year, so we don't get good at it, right? So we still have to be refreshed, so there you go. So per our Regional Office of Education, if there aren't enough candidates due to the election, then the board declares a board vacancy after the election, generally after the canvassing deadline. And again, that is on Tuesday, April 22nd this year. And from that day, we have 60 days to appoint a new member. Per board policy 270, we, like all boards of education, have a process in place to address open seats that occur when not enough candidates are on the ballot or when a seated board of education member needs to resign. This is not an uncommon occurrence. And we either appoint a community member to an open board of education seat, or we interview interested community members for an open board of ed seat. So look at your current board, and we have gone through the interview process in recent years and have found excellent Board of Education members, including 2 of our 3 incumbent candidates. So it's a tried and true process, and that's what we will probably be doing in April, May, June, if that's what the board decides to do. So there you go. Questions? Comments? We know this, we got this. Okay. And board member elections then leads us into board governance training. So we have discussed at several meetings the importance of our continuing education as Board of Education members. I'm very proud of everybody's efforts, our compliance with training, and also participation in webinars and conferences, both local and national for some of us, because she's even cooler than the rest of us, so. And per board policy 2120, when we seat that new board member that we mentioned in item A on the board report, there is mandatory required training for all board members. As we all begin, we all had to do it. Some of us, it was online, some of us are old, and it was no longer, it was not online, I had to go in person, but, so the IASB offers 2 online courses to satisfy mandatory training requirements. There is PDLT, so Professional Development Leadership Training, and Performance Evaluation Reform Act. All of this is from the IASB website. I did not write this for myself, so there you go. So that's training for school board members, and that includes instruction in education and labor law, financial oversight and accountability, fiduciary responsibilities, and trauma-informed practices. So those are things that we all have used in our time on the board. In addition, it includes training on para evaluations for school board members who will participate in a vote on a dismissal based on the optional alternative evaluation dismissal process. So many big words, but this is what we all have to do when we start. And then IASB also includes the state mandated trauma-informed practices. That is new as of the last election cycle, that has been added to the mandatory trainings. It's also available in standalone for people who've been around longer than that. For example, I didn't need it in 2017 when I was elected, but I've taken it since when it became available. And then we talk ad nauseum about OMA, so Open Meetings Act, right? And so that's the other mandatory training for board members is to, we all take Open Meeting Acts training, focusing specifically on the law as it applies to school board meetings and members, so. In addition, new board members here are oriented to board work by the Board of Education president and also the superintendent, so. And we will also be participating in a starting right session with IASB sometime this summer. And I'll be sending out an email because I have dates from Natalie. They're mostly in July, so at least now, but we can talk about August too, to get that started. So a lot of emails flying around every place this week, but we'll get it all going. Okay, questions? Comments? Jokes? Quips? Awesome, okay. Finance committee, who's?
Hello.
Okay. Mike says tag, okay, all right. So finance committee, please.
Sure. You know, really Eric's very beefy report section covered most of what we talked about. We discussed the registration fees and the feasibility of various discounts and what would be most like financially prudent for our district where we're at. And we got a sneak peek of the audit. Got to hear about Eric's 3.9 out of 4 that was caught in his craw.
So close.
And we've also just been working on trying to set up some more like formalized procedures for our committee, when we're going to meet, topics we're going to cover. And the district office has been doing an awesome job of working with us and trying to find out ways to kind of formalize the process.
Awesome.
Can't believe nobody liked my feasibility pun.
Rachel, there was a chuckle. I heard a chuckle for the feasibility.
It was forced.
I heard the
That was funny.
feasibility. I did. You know, we gotta find our fun where we can, right? Like, accounting can be fun. Eric would tell us, right? Absolutely. We like money. We like numbers. Do you wanna speak a little bit first about the resolution?
Sure.
Before I read the resolution?
Yeah.
Okay. Cause I really liked your recap.
Of course.
Awesome.
So a resolution in support of Illinois' Vision 2030 is an offset of Vision 2020. This is a group of superintendents that meets regularly with ISB, Illinois State Board of Education, in order to draft legislation and updated accountability forms with the state of Illinois. Two of the highlights to which I most recently found out about obviously have to do with funding streams in Illinois as well as academic accountability. And so two of the big picture items that they're supporting are looking deeper into tiered funding, so evidence-based funding streams and what that looks like and sounds like for our student population. as well as accountability thresholds with academics. So for example, currently in an exemplary school or a commendable school, we have certain thresholds that are set throughout the state of Illinois. Essentially, they're looking at how can we make accountability compared to ourselves as compared to our neighbors. That is far stretched and yet to come, but essentially, how do we really look at assessment data on a bigger picture scale as opposed to comparing ourselves to our next door neighbor? So it is absolutely something that I support, that I believe is best for kids. And this is one of the first times in my career that I've really seen this group work strongly in support of ISB, and I feel as though they're very collaborative in the process, and the work that they are doing is absolutely solid.
So this was rolled out at conference, right? So that was Friday afternoon, I think, was the big launch that we talked about, Vision 2030 in downtown, so. And now I have to read a very lengthy, sorry guys, a very lengthy resolution, so. But this is the resolution in support of Illinois Vision 2030. Whereas public education plays a defining role in ensuring equal opportunity for children in Illinois and throughout the United States, and whereas it is our collective duty to ensure that every student, regardless of demographic or geographic identity, has equal access to a quality public education, and whereas we believe that strides need to be proactively made to face challenges and continually improve our public education system, and whereas there have been 3 areas of prioritization identified as integral in improving our public education system: future-focused learning, shared accountability, and predictable funding. And whereas future-focused learning should address promoting future-driven skills that allow for more college and career exploration, enhancing student safety and well-being, attracting and retaining a high-quality and diverse educator pipeline, and promoting curriculum and instructional flexibility to meet the unique needs of local communities. And whereas shared accountability should address reforming the Illinois assessment system to be a timely and useful measure of student proficiency and growth over time, reforming the current accountability system to provide local flexibility for identifying indicators that create a more holistic view of student success, and reforming the mandate process to ensure implementation procedures that promote flexibility and local decision-making. And whereas predictable funding should address protecting the integrity and funding of the evidence-based funding formula, strengthening public education through pension reforms, and establishing equitable funding sources for capital and safety needs. And whereas it is imperative that any education improvement proposal for comprehensive change must be developed and supported by not only the educational community, but in collaboration with families, communities, businesses, and others whose priorities reflect the best interests of students. Now therefore be it resolved that the Evergreen Park Elementary School District 124 Board of Education joins with the Illinois Association of School Administrators, the Illinois Association of School Boards, the Illinois Principals Association, Illinois Association of School Business Officials, Illinois Association of Regional Superintendents of Schools, Superintendents Commission for the Study of Demographics and Diversity, Illinois Alliance for Special Education Administrators, and the Association of Illinois Rural and Small Schools in supporting the Vision 23 Education Improvement Policy. And be it further resolved that the Evergreen Park Elementary School District 124 Board of Education urges the Illinois General Assembly to approve the necessary legislative changes to implement the recommendations under those 3 pillars of education improvement as contained in the Vision 23 policy. And when we vote on this in just a moment, it will be adopted this 22nd day of January 2025. I said I had a lot to read, so there we go. Thank you for listening. And it's exciting. I mean, we hear growth with our students, we hear growth in our schools, we hear growth in our districts. we hear growth in our state. I mean, that is how it's all supposed to be, so. Okay. Moving on to our action items. A consent agenda item A is to number 1, approve the monthly transaction reports for December of 2024. Number 2 is to approve the fund balance reports for December of 2024. Number 3 is to approve the expenditure report and projected payroll report for January of 2025. Number 4 is to approve board minutes from the regular board meeting of December 17th, 2024. Number 5 is to approve closed session minutes from the regular meeting of December 17th, 2024. Number 6 is to approve destruction of closed session tapes from September of 2020. And number 7 is personnel recommendations as listed on the agenda with additions and FMLA leave of absence and resignations as listed. If I could have a first motion to approve consent agenda item A.
Motion to approve consent agenda item A.
And a second, please.
Second.
And a roll call.
Dr. Michael Thomas,
Yay.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
David Shepherd,
Yes.
Lauren Dowden,
Yay.
Denise Jones, yes, Mike Wallmiller.
Yay.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Excellent. Item B is to approve public engagement and public opinion research services agreement with Beyond Your Base, as Dr. Woodland outlined and as we participated in the special meeting last week, in the amount of $85,000. If I could have a first motion, please.
Make the motion.
Great, and a second,
Second.
and a roll call.
Mike Wallmiller.
Yay.
Dr. Michael Thomas.
Yay.
Lauren Dowden.
Yay.
David Shepherd,
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
Denise Jones, yes, Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. Item C is to approve the property tax appeal, the PTAB, as listed by Mr. Grossi regarding First Midwest Bank and Old National Bank 2020 to 2022 appeals. If I could have a first motion, please.
Motion to approve action item C.
Thank you. And a second.
A second.
Great. And a roll call, please.
Dr. Michael Thomas,
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
David Shepherd,
Yes.
Lauren Dowden.
Yay.
Denise Jones, yes, Mike Wallmiller.
Yay.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. Item D is to approve our school fees as updated and shared by Mr. Grossi this evening for the 25-26 school year. If I could have a first motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Nice. And a second. All right, okay. And a roll call, please.
Denise Jones, yes. Rachel Merrickwin. David Shepherd,
Yes.
Lauren Dowden.
Yay.
Dr. Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Michael Wallmiller.
Yay.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Excellent. Oh, you guys are funny. Item E is to approve contracts with Precision Control Systems, Inc. for HVAC updates to Southwest for a total cost of $161,000 as outlined this evening by Matt. If I could have a first motion, please, to approve,
First.
and a second?
Second.
Great. And a roll call, please?
Michael Wallmiller.
Yay.
Dr. Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Lauren Dowden.
Yay.
David Shepherd,
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
Denise Jones, yes, Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. Item F is to approve contracts with Precision Control Systems, Inc. for HVAC replacement to Southeast at a total cost this summer of $3,040,000 as outlined this evening. If I could have a first motion, please.
Motion to approve HVAC at Southeast.
Great. And
Second.
thanks. And a roll call.
Dr. Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Mike Wallmiller,
Yay.
Denise Jones, yes, Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
David Shepherd,
Yes.
Lauren Dowden,
Yay.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. Item G is to approve the second reading and adoption of revised board policies 420, 5250, and 5330 as recommended by the Board Policy Committee and discussed at last week's, or last month's meeting. If I could have a first motion for item H, please?
For G.
Thank you, that would be the one. G. That's the one, yes, thank you. Great, so for G, Rachel Merrickwin for first and a second, please?
I'll second.
Great, thanks Denise. And a roll call.
Rachel Merrickwin,
Yes.
Denise Jones, yes, Michael Miller.
Yay.
David Shepherd.
Yes.
Lauren Dowden.
Yay.
Dr. Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. Item H, sorry about that, is to approve the second reading and adoption of revised board policies 2120, 4170, 5100, 5230, and 660 as recommended by the Illinois Association of School Boards. If I could have a first motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
And a second.
I'll second.
Great. Thank you, my policy committee. And a roll call, please.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
David Shepherd.
Yes.
Lauren Dowden.
Yay.
Dr. Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Denise Jones, yes. Michael Miller.
Yay.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Great. Item I is to approve resolution in support of Illinois Vision 2030. If I could have a first motion, please.
Motion to approve resolution in support of Illinois Vision 2030.
Excellent. And a second, please.
I'll second.
Great. And a roll call?
Dr. Michael Thomas.
Yes.
Rachel Merrickwin.
Yes.
David Shepherd.
Yes.
Lauren Dowden.
Yay.
Denise Jones, yes. Michael Miller.
Yay.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Motion passed.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn?
Can we,
You need the
did you
official
just see
hand
me
signal.
look at the
You need
clock?
official hand signal with it?
Like, look at that. So, okay, first motion to adjourn the meeting. The next regular meeting of the District 124 Board of Ed is scheduled to take place on February 18th at 6 p.m. right here. First motion,
Second.
Second.
okay, second, third, fourth, right, roll call.
Take care.
Michael Miller.
Yay.
Denise Jones, yes. Rachel Merrickwin. Yes.
I want to stay, actually.
David Shepherd.
Yes.
I know.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. Here we go.
Dr. Michael
Oh,
Thomas.
yes.
Colleen Clemzak.
Yes.
Okay.
Look at us.
Then we close at 7:30.
One.
Beautiful.